Hi everybody, welcome to North of MAGA. Last video got all kinds of fantastic comments. Everybody's so kind and encouraging. Thank you so much. If you have any ideas for videos that you'd like to see in the future, please let me know. Um, this channel was created to give you a Canadian's perspective on the American political landscape. It is in no way meant to insult the American people. I mean, I love my American brothers and sisters. You know who you are. We've grown up together. This is a little bit scary what's going on. Everything I say from here on in is allegedly and in my opinion. So thank you so much. Today we're looking at our U.S. tourism efforts to win back Canadian travelers falling flat. Yeah, I got a bit of an opinion on this one. Okay, so let's go.
Canada's airports were bustling in April, but fewer passengers were flying to the US. It's a sign that efforts by American destinations to win back Canadian tourists may be falling flat. Take a look. The number of passengers at Canadian airports who were screened to
Wow.
travel to the US plunged in April. Transborder traffic to the US saw 1.
Okay, let's look at this. So transborder traffic is the traffic going from Canada into the United States. That's down by 5.8. This was April though. We're in, what is this? We're in July. Numbers are really bad. Numbers are really bad. Domestic passenger traffic has gone through the roof, 7.4%. Fantastic. There's more people are traveling inside the country, a whole bunch more than going to the United States. And this is not because our prime minister mentioned, hey, maybe you can stay home this year. Um, this is a grassroots effort. This is just people being really upset. I hear everybody talking about the reason is that there are tariffs and because the exchange rate isn't good for us. But I think it's really missing the mark, and I'm kind of disappointed in Canadian coverage about this because I don't see that being the issue at all. I mean, tariffs, okay, no fun at all, but we can survive, and we'll just go get some other trading partners, some that are more reliable, and that we can, they won't just rip up a contract halfway through. The real issue, in my humble opinion, is the threat of annexation. The threat of annexation. That's absolutely crazy. How does somebody threaten to annex another country in 2025? I thought the age of colonization and imperialism was over. So threat of annexation, number one. That's why I'm not going to the U.S. this year. Calling our prime minister governor, so disrespectful. I mean, your guy, just your guy has no class. Your guy just insults people and belittles people and bullies people and so on. Um, as Canadians, we have zero respect for that. It's just not the way that wow, it's not the way that we work. Okay, settle down. I'm going to continue this.
1.1 million visitors in April. Now that's down 5.8% from the same period last year. Meantime, domestic passenger traffic in April was up by 7.4% to 2 million compared to April 2024. And CTV's Colton Trail joins us now from Ottawa with more on the story. Colton, great to see you. While governments, of course, work at their levels, Canadians have also stepped up in their retaliation to U.S. tariffs, and it's beginning to hurt businesses on the other side.
Tariffs. It's not
They
tariffs.
absolutely have, Akshay. I mean, you look at those numbers, for example, even if you compare them to pre-pandemic numbers, we're talking about a 12, almost 13% drop in travel to the U.S., while at the same time, international travel outside of the U.S. has increased 19% since 2019. These are very stark differences, and what you're seeing is that while a large chunk of travelers are still choosing to go places, they are turning away from the U.S. as a result of the political situation, as
When I look at videos Made in America, NBC, and so on, there seems to be an absolute denial about what's going on. I mean, if there's a minimization of things are okay and so on, but it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt bad. It's going to hurt really bad. Maine, Maine, that's right next door to me. Oh my God. When I was a kid, Nana and Granddad would put me in their Ford Gran Torino, and I'd sleep across, or I'd lie across the back window because we could then. And we'd drive to Old Orchard Beach. Took like a day, full day to get there. And until I realized it's not so long to get there, but Nana and Granddad like to stop along the way. But I mean, it was, oh my goodness, going to the United States, what a deal! Stopping in St. Albans to get blueberry pancakes, fantastic! Wow, what was it? The shiny hit city on the hill. What's happened? I don't know what's happened.
as a result of the worse Canadian dollar.
Nice
And
airplane.
the combination of those two impacts means you are seeing more people
Oh,
travel
they just said it again.
combination
Listen to
as a
this.
result of away from the U.S. as a result of the political situation, as a result of the worse Canadian dollar.
Political situation, worse Canadian dollar.
The combination of those
No.
two impacts means you are seeing more people travel overseas to countries that aren't the U.S., but you're also seeing a very significant impact to the Canadian tourism economy as well. The Conference Board of Canada estimates it's about an $8.8 billion boost to the Canadian economy.
Okay, irony of ironies. So Canada, my Canadian brethren are traveling all over Canada. Canada's a beautiful country. Oh my God, there's so much stuff to see, so many things to see. There's so much stuff to do. Just beautiful. Wow. And it gets nice and hot up here in the summer. People don't really realize, but just a beautiful place to visit. Why would we risk getting stopped at the border and having our phone checked? Getting our phone checked. Seriously. Never mind.
Or 0.2 to 0.3% of a percentage point for the GDP as a whole, which is incredibly valuable, especially at a time where our economy is suffering. And so where we would normally maybe grow 2% in a year and our forecast to grow 1%, the difference between 0.7 and 1 is very significant. And it's also valuable because it's happening in an industry that typically hires younger Canadians. And if you look at the job numbers we've seen, especially for younger Canadians, they have been very, very challenging. And so this is going to go a long way to supporting Canadian industry across this country as a result of so many people choosing to vacation here at home rather than going into the States.
Let's also talk about some measures Canadian airlines are actually taking to sort of, keep up with this domestic demand or, some other travel destinations. Colton, what are we learning on that front?
Yeah, you're seeing increased flights to Latin America from a number of different providers. You're seeing increased flights across Canada from Canadian providers as well. There really has been this shift in servicing the Canadian customer that is changing. We've seen more flights, for example, from Ottawa to Paris under French Airlines. We've seen an increase in flights directly from airports like Toronto to major European destinations as well. There has been a shift in where the travel has gone. And if you listen to the earning calls, for example, of some of these companies, Air Canada, WestJet, there is an expectation that this will continue to stutter. Now, the big question in the travel industry is, will this last longer than the summer? It's expected that while the
Will this last longer than the summer? Your president threatened to annex us. Let that sink in a bit. And he's doubling down these days about 51st state. Holy fuck you. Threatening to annex us. Will this last past the summer? Don't know.
weather is nice, you're going to see a lot of this interprovincial travel. You're going to see overseas travel. But when it becomes warmer, when snowbirds are typically thinking of going to Arizona or Florida or California, are we going to see the return of that kind of travel behavior?
No. I know snowbirds. Look at the gray hair. They're not going back. They don't want to go back. They're afraid. They're scared. Anyway, who can afford a house in Florida now with the insurance premiums for hurricanes and everything else? Because of the climate crisis. Yes, there is a climate crisis. Why would snowbirds even want to go back? They're having to listen to this stuff going on. It's a bit frightening.
Behavior. It slowed down a little bit last winter, but is it going to last longer? It's a question that these companies are still waiting to answer. It's also a question that could have a major impact on the Canadian economy because again, there were more studies being done, this one by BDC and the Conference Board of Canada, where they tracked that if the average Canadian spent about $25 a week in Canada rather than on American products, we could again see the GDP increase by 0.7%. And so the longer this goes on, the better it is for our Canadian economy. But obviously, it is having an impact on American partners, and that's why you're seeing so many states and local businesses, tourism boards, economic boards reaching out with those advertising campaigns. The
advertising campaigns. Completely tone deaf, unable to read the room. The anger here is through the roof. Through the roof. And we see ads that are like, "Ooh, the Canadian dollar is not so strong. Come on down. We're going to be giving you guys, we're going to be renting motel rooms at par." No, it's no. We're being threatened with annexation. Instead of giving us hotel rooms at par, how about you speak out? How about you talk about this rhetoric being dangerous? How about you compare things to the Sudetenland? How about we talk about Chamberlain in 1930? What was it? Oh my God. My God, this is terrible. You know what's really great though? Oh, no, it's really great. Anyway, this gentleman was talking about the effects on the U.S. economy. I've never seen so many people look at the labels when they buy their groceries. We don't buy celery anymore because the only celery we buy here is from the U.S. That's fine. I'm okay without celery. Unless I can find some from Mexico or from Guatemala. Avocados, we're going to be fine. Thank you so much. Tomatoes, we got great tomatoes here. We're Canadians. We're Canadians. We're used to the harsh winters and weather, and we're Canadians. The most fervent sovereignists from Quebec are actually as up in arms about this rhetoric as anybody else. I've never seen Canada be so united against something. Okay, I got to settle down. Blood pressure.
Owner that you spoke to earlier today of that golf course,
Yeah.
reaching out to Canadians, asking them to come back, because even though the air travel is down, as you showed, by about 6% over the month, the man that you spoke to, his region, I was speaking to their Chamber of Commerce, it's down 30%, or that's what they're expecting over the summer. And so locally, we are seeing some really
30% is nothing. Nothing. Maine is being crushed right now. Talk to Tennessee about travel, about tourism. Kentucky crushed. Kentucky's the bourbon is being absolutely crushed. We got pretty good Canadian alcohol up here. We're gonna be good. It seems to me that Canada is the number one purchaser of American alcohol as well. Go figure.
significant hits that are much worse than when you look at it from a national level.
Yeah. Okay, so this is pretty upsetting. Again, I don't think the issue with Canadians traveling to the U.S. is about tariffs, and I don't think it's about the American dollar. Because when the American dollar has been low in the past, we go to the U.S. That's not it. It has to do with the disrespect. It has to do with your phone getting checked at the border to see if you have a meme of J.D. Vance. Come on. Come on. Ugh. As a Canadian, I just don't get it. Please leave a like to the video, our U.S. tourism efforts to win back Canadians travelers falling flat. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. Please click on like. And if you have any suggestions for any future videos, please let me know. See you next time.